Hello, everybody. It's on, and it's time for another episode of Booking SWF. All right, guys and girls, the thing has happened. We did get canceled. It feels like a disaster. And, after I recorded the last show, I saw that this happened and I took a night to think about it. But honestly, I feel like this can be turned into a positive. I'm aware that a very popular strategy is to just go ahead and, get your own broadcaster probably immediately because it's a good way to make money and it's a good way to make sure your show stays on the air. I think I have enough money to establish a broadcaster and keep my shows on the air. Maybe not just Supreme TV, but more shows as well. I don't think I'm going to go crazy with creating shows right away. I think at least for the current cycle up to our next pay-per-view event, I'm going to just get Supreme TV back on the air. Probably going to continue to show pay-per-views on my pay-per-view broadcasters. As a game, I can just in a few minutes set up the broadcaster, right? But I can feel all of that slow dread of like possibly getting canceled and having to figure that out over the last few months of game time. That's all right now for me. Yeah, that's the next thing that I'm gonna have to do is figure all that out. Just to rub it in, TCW had an 87 rated show. Like, literally put the nail in the coffin for me. Put the nail in the coffin match, I guess you could say. All right. Complete disaster. Having no TV shows. The next thing I need to do is create a broadcaster. I have almost $30 million to work with. And I think what I'm going to do is, try to use this as an opportunity. Okay, so we go into investments. We go into launch your own broadcaster. And I added this picture. We're going to call it SWF Extreme. Like stream. You get it? All right, we're going to use that picture. So let's call it SWF Stream TV. I think the way to go is going to be internet subscription. Pay-per-view, we just have running costs. And then, obviously we would get pay per view. Commercial, larger sizes causing bigger costs. I mean, we have a large size. We're big. Internet public, again, big costs. So subscription is nice. We already know up front what our popularity needs to be in order to run profit. Okay. And I think what we might do is even take a loss in some places in order to make gains in popularity. We're not going to do a style focus. There's nothing that's wrestling specific. And in the US, we are a 78 popularity in most regions. So we'll say 78 overall. So I believe we would be considered huge in the United States. At 75, we would be making, 3 points of profit. So I think let's start with huge. And we see that we're going to be making $6,573 of profit. Now in Canada, we are clocking a 73 popularity right now. So we don't want to go huge, but we can go very big. We could drop down to big, but we're still making a profit, so I'm liking that. In Mexico, my size is 60. I think that's going to increase as we continue to do shows. So if we're going with a looking forward type of mindset here, I think I want to break even right now and use medium in Mexico. And actually, let me drop this down. We may not have enough money to actually do this. If I drop to big and very big, now we're making more money and we're paying a lot less up front. We can always increase this. The tough thing is that in tiny areas, we are looking at losing money for sure because we have to reach 30. British Isles is at 16 now. I think I will see what Tiny gets us there. And then Japan, we are pretty close to. So if we use Tiny there, now we're only making 2,000. I guess if we do Tiny here, now what? We're only making hundreds of dollars. So none. I opened this playthrough wanting to spend money, and I knew this was going to happen at some point. Yeah, I think we're maximizing growth in other areas of the world here while also ensuring we make a profit. So this looks like the move I want to do. Let's launch the broadcaster. Yeah, of course, we have to negotiate with ourselves, and that's what we will do. SWF Extreme TV is now live. Purchase your subscriptions, folks. All right, so in broadcasting, let's view all broadcasters and SWF Extreme TV. I do believe we can negotiate with them for Supreme TV. Yeah, there's no choice. We get 100% of the profits. It's on demand. There it is. Let's sign it. All right, Extreme TV is live and Supreme TV is on the air again. Now we are free. We are free to do whatever we want with our show. I don't think I'm going to do it right away, but I'll bring SWF Elite back, and then I'll also add an SWF Uprising as a B show. You know, we lost our broadcaster, but we still have a lot of momentum. We're still very prestigious, but Total Championship Wrestling is on a roll. They are extremely prestigious. They have huge momentum. Their size is closing in on ours in the United States. Now, we definitely have the advantage in Mexico and Canada, but in the US, yeah, they're getting too close for comfort. All right, we've ensured that we are back on the air, and our next episode of Supreme TV is coming up in a week. So I am going to do a little bit of pre-booking. Okay, so on the pre-booking card, I have all my matches. It's actually a pretty match-heavy show. I do think overall we are looking good with our pre-booking, and we are going to gain a boost in attendance, so I like the sound of that. All right, I am going to add another pre-booking match that was discussed at the last show. So far we have 2 matches on our event card, so we have completed the pre-booking here. All right, so some of my competitors had some decent shows. CWA doing well. They're ruling Canada, and that's fine. RIPW continues to have subpar shows, but you know, they're so far ahead that we really need to get better to catch up. RIPW did well with their Uprising weekly show. And I have a decision to make, so let's see what that is. Ah, yes, contract negotiations with Chrissy Angel. Looks like she is ready to re-up her contract. I do want her on the main roster. 3 more years of having Chrissy Angel around. She's a little drama backstage, but that's all right. She does a good job. All right, so complete signing. We're still awaiting a decision on Paul Huntington. We'll see if that happens in the next few days. Nothing to really do right now, so let's go ahead and move on to the next day. All right, so Primus Allen, he is back and ready to go. I like the sound of that. We even got a little news about Primus Allen, so it's good to know he's healthy. All right, just pausing here to take a look at some mail, and it looks like Paul Huntington has made his decision and he's ready to sign. He'll stay on the main roster, and he won't do house shows, but that's okay. I'm fine with that. He's a little older, so, you know, risk of injury. Plus, I have plenty of workers for the house shows, and I do plan on signing more or pulling them from RIPW, so let's complete that. An interesting piece of news here is Vita, who is a manager, is not going to be re-signed by TCW. Now, I don't know if I want to negotiate with her. Her skills are average. She's not like super excellent, right? Her popularity, pretty mid. One interesting thing though is she is dating T-Bone Bright, who is a pretty good worker. He's got pretty good in-ring skills, you know, maybe average. He could use a manager. Popularity is pretty solid, though. I do think he would be a guy I would sign. He's just not available for quite some time, a little less than 2 years. So I don't know if it's worth trying to nab Vita. I don't really know what I would do with her. I actually don't think it would be worth hiring someone who doesn't wrestle. I'm trying to build a female division within this year, so I think I'm gonna pass. USPW held their latest event and it was rated pretty well, so yeah, good for them. All right, so in the news on this Tuesday before the show, we have a few graduates from TCW's training facility. One literally looks like a baby. But, that's cool. There's nothing I can do with these guys, but this is the world continuing to build. It is March 1st. One thing I like to do at the start of the month is make a little donation to my hopefully, potentially child companies. Let's go ahead and offer them a cash boost. How much can I afford to give? I think I can give them 25,000 each and that won't hurt me too much. All right, so let's go ahead and Queens of American Wrestling, we're going to negotiate with them. Let's give them cash boost of 25,000 and they accept. Where else am I going? They have a positive opinion. We're going to give them a cash boost. Make the offer. All right. And what this is setting up is hopefully a talent trading agreement in the relatively near future. Time to book the show. It's our first show on our own broadcasting network. I guess it's a pretty important one. All right, no one is being given the night off, so we'll skip that. Now let's select our venue or location. We are going to continue our experiment. At the last show, we booked a location that had a fixed cost of $40,000. And for this show, we are going to book a venue that shows an estimated cost, okay? So let's go ahead and pick our region. My plan is to do Great Lakes for this one. And at Great Lakes, we're going to have over 11,000 fans, it seems. So you know what? Akron, Ohio, 15,000, 40,000 in estimated costs. I did do a quick check and none of the locations that have an estimated cost have a importance percentage. So I'm not too worried about that. We're just going to go ahead and select this location and continue on with our experiment. Yes. Okay, now it's time for the booking team meeting. Let's go ahead and see. We have 132 creative energy, which is a bit short for our last few shows. We're still finding our feet, apparently. And yeah, I guess that makes sense. February is a short month, but I would have added Angry Gilmore and Enforcer Roberts into the booking team on January 1st. So we're 2 months later. Maybe by next show, we'll have this penalty go away. I'll take a quick look at my stored creative ideas. I'm not sure that there's anything that I really want to use for my creative ideas. I have a storyline idea. If I want to go ahead and boost a storyline, what I'm lacking are angle ideas and viable creative finishes. These are gambles, not really into that. These creative finishes are for specific workers. So, when these workers have matches that they're going to win, sure, I'll use them. I have a lot of time for that. Based on what I have planned, I don't necessarily need an angle idea. What I think I'll do is start with a creative finish, maybe start storing those for the event coming up. So let's go ahead and search for a creative finish. And this one is a safe bet, but it's specifically a Rocky Golden finish. Being that it's specifically for Rocky Golden, I'm actually not going to count it as a successful creative finish for my purposes of searching for ideas. So I will keep it. But all right, let's ask for another creative finish. Then I'll have a little extra juice for next week's points. And that might help in terms of having more potential for creative finishes and angle ideas leading up to our event. So let's ask for a creative finish again. And this one's a big gamble for Jack Bruce. Two things. I don't think I'm going to have Jack Bruce in any more than one match. And then it's also a big gamble, which most likely won't work. So that's a discard. All right. 32 points left. Can't spend any of that yet. So we're done with our booking team meeting. All right, locker room incidents. We have some. Let's see what they are. Maddie Faith and Mainstream Hernandez butting heads. Ooh, all right. A professional versus a party animal personality. Maybe that's something we can do and address the locker room. Randy Unleashed and Rocky Golden butting heads. Why? Randy Unleashed is a class clown. Rocky Golden is professional. Oh my goodness. More and more incidents happening backstage. Sammy Smoke and Justin Sensitive got into a huge fight. Oh my gosh. Why? Just all fights. Okay. So let's address the locker room. Metal is probably what we want to go with. I don't see any of those recent incidents popped up here. So, okay. I'm going to just continue on with Joe Sexy and Des Davids because I want to figure that one out. And since the positive meddling has a fairly high chance of succeeding, that's just the thing to continue doing. And pre-show is complete. Fantastic. All right, had a decent show last time. Hopefully, even though we are on our own streaming platform, I am hoping that we blow stuff out of the water. My intention is still to get good ratings. Hopefully that happens. And this is the show where I really expected things to pick up, just in terms of storylines and ratings as well. Okay, I have my entire show booked with all of my matches and all of my angles, and we are not receiving a penalty for not having enough angles. We're at 73% matches, so that's good enough. We don't have any warnings, so I'm happy with that. And we're going to start the show with an angle, so I'll talk about those first. There's not all that many angles, and most of them are tied to a specific in-ring event. So I'm hoping that overall the angles are pretty good. I think the strongest two are going to be the first angle, the thing that opens up the show, and then the final angle, which has a lot of my stars featured, even just a little bit. But other than that, Remo and Jack Bruce, this actually might end up being the best angle of the night just because of Jack Bruce. That wouldn't surprise me at all. I think Jack Bruce can carry this angle. For the most part, Remo calls him out, and then Jack Bruce basically has a promo for essentially the rest of it. So I think that should be fine. As far as my matches go, I'm really looking for the Remo match to be quite good, the tag match to be quite good, and then the main event to be my top 3 matches. So yeah, pretty straightforward. We are going to just have a hopefully highly rated match, but 15 minutes with a slow build. I imagine a regular match is appropriate. Let's not put Runaway Train in there for this one. We're going to have it be Squeaky McLean. Also, let's go with Shane Stones for this one. Yeah, we're going to keep it a 20-minute match unless I get some warning about stamina when I try to book this. Calling it in the ring, Rocky Golden wins clean with a creative finish. And because it's going to be one of the better matches, I want them to have all the opportunity to get a good rating. So no ban on Spinal Impact. For my ringside workers, I am going to use my best road agent and one of my top referees. Rick Young is the better referee. I think I'm going to have him referee some of the other lower card matches. And yeah, the North American title is not on the line. The world title is. Maddie Faith only has very warm momentum, while Mass Patriot is hot at the moment. So I'm having Maddie Faith get the victory, and then Dominic D'Souza is going to take the fall. But we're going to have a slow build, scripted match, regular match aim. I'm going to put Justin Jolson in there as if he is going to interfere. But I do have our tag team champions ringside because I do want to trigger the storyline that's going on. Yeah, we just want to make sure that the storyline gets established, that this is a #1 contender match. Darren Smith as the referee. And yeah, we can have Squeaky McLean here for this one as the road agent. I like that. Other than that, I have what could be a pretty decent match between Brandon James and Marshall Dillon and then what I consider will most likely be throwaway matches, which are part of the Canadian title tournament, but that's ramping up, and I think the matches in the next show will be better. But Chill versus Spencer Spade, probably the better of the two, but I'm not expecting big things there. And then also Angry Gilmore and Forrest Ratzloff. I'm actually hoping that Forrest Ratzloff getting some in-ring time with guys like Angry Gilmore, and then maybe down the line, I know Brandon James has already made a promise to put him over, so I do plan on doing that in the near future. I have a little bit of time to still do that though. I think overall we're looking like we're in good shape. Let's start the show, get into gorilla position, see how the pre-show goes. All those matches are really either just to look for in-ring chemistry, get guys over. Let's get into it and see how things go. First pre-show match, not great, and that's fine. Not really looking for anything other than to get Hellion some work and maybe increase his popularity slightly. Was not a great match to do that, but that's fine. Let's move on. All right, not too bad. Mikey Lau's a good in-ring performer, and he got a good in-ring performance rating. The highlight here, though, is John Greed and Mikey Lau have pretty good chemistry in the ring, and I might have to run a story between the two of them, and you know that might give John Greed a little bit of a push there. I somehow decided that John Greed should beat Mikey Lau in this dark match, but I don't think it'll hurt Mikey Lau too bad. He's doing quite well. So let's go and check out the next pre-show match. Adam Smasher and Lenny Brown. No particularly good chemistry here, although it did get a good rating overall, so that's cool. Next segment. All right, this was a tag match and no great chemistry between any of these teams. I don't know if I've had them face each other before. This was just kind of filler because I want to make sure that I got a few of these guys working, but all right, next segment. So a pretty good rating here between Randy Unleashed and Des Davids. I did have them end in a 15-minute draw, but they both got decent ratings. I mean, it's a dark match. There's no story here, so it's fine. But 77 is a pretty good rating for pretty good in-ring workers. All right, it is time to go ahead and start our show. We are ready to open with our first angle and then get into some matches and angles and matches and angles. But overall, I think this show might do quite well. So I hope we get off to a good start with this angle. All right, so let's go ahead and start the proper show. All right, so we're kicking things off with a 77, which is decent. We did do well. We advanced the story, we have a hot crowd, and it looks like we got off to a strong start. Seeing this note means that we're in a good place. This was a good first segment. So let's just get right into our first match of the show. All right, and this one was not great, 67, but it does look like the total segment rating was lifted by Angry Gilmore. I mean, Angry Gilmore got a 65 while Forrest Ratzloff had a 48. So I think it's fair to say that Gilmore did a pretty good job at keeping this a semi-decent match. Really, I'm just hoping that this is a throwaway match and we don't end up having a situation where this ends up being one of the top 3 matches with a 67. Goodness. But the crowd is still hot, so that is good. Next, we have an angle, so let's just get into that one. All right, so we are continuing to lose heat on this story, and we only got a 59 here, and all right, that's fine. There's not much I can do about it. Really, we just need to move on and check out the next segment. All right, and this match is good. 81, that is solid. These are 2 good workers, and ZWB, I don't know why he kind of underperformed, or at least what I assume is an underperformance. Now, we did have this match aim as regular, and I did say it should be called in the ring. I'm not sure if that was a big reason for the good rating. If we look at the dirt sheet, a couple of things that we got penalized for was physical condition and inconsistency for ZWB. A bonus for the slow build and the momentum, etc. They did kind of underperform our referee, and our road agent, but that's okay. We did get a solid rating and we have a white hot crowd at the end. All right, let's go and check out the next segment and see how this angle does. All right, an 82 is pretty good, and it's better than any specific part of this overall segment. So we did pretty good, and I like that Remo came across well. In the details, yeah, we can see that, Remo had a 1 minute cutting a promo, I think, role. And then it was mostly Jack Bruce with Remo looking intimidating. We also had like the cameo with Primus Allen. This is going to help all three of these guys just with their popularity and momentum. In the dirt sheet, one thing that I need to look out for is that Jack Bruce is getting penalties for low morale. Now, I know I could give him more money. He is making a lot of money. So I don't know if I necessarily want to do that. This is a good rating. I guess what I'm worried about is this not being so good that it can eat a poor angle rating, but we do have a very hot crowd here, and that means I just want to look at the booking screen again. We have a very hot crowd and a match coming up. I don't think either of these guys are good enough to steal the show. Yeah, the psychology isn't great. The consistency isn't great. And it's a 10-minute match, so I couldn't add something like slow build, let's say. All right, that means I'm going to keep it at regular. Still, having a very hot crowd can help give this match a ratings bonus. So 81 was the last match rating. Best match so far. I don't know if it'll be the best match. So let's see what Brandon James and Marshall Dillon can do. All right, so this was a bit of a disaster. We only got a 56, and that's because Brandon James and Marshall Dillon got a poor chemistry note here, and yeah, that's too bad. Brandon James does not work house shows, and this is what I use house shows for mostly, is to find the chemistry, especially when you're starting a new save, right? And you have a company that's big enough to do it. It's a unpleasant surprise. This will just be a throwaway match, so thank goodness for that. But yeah, we didn't have a good match here. Hopefully the next angle segment does a lot better so that the angle ratings can continue to be strong. Oh, and we have Brandon James set up to turn face, but I have it triggered for Brandon James to turn face in the angle. So there we go. Let's do that. Continue the show. All right, well, a 61, that's not great. It would be better if it was in the upper 60s or into the 70s. And Sammy Smoke, he got a underperformed note here, and I don't know if he got this before, but that's not a good sign. One of the parts of this, the last part, which got the lowest rating, was Brandon James playing a victim role. So I know he doesn't have a high stat for selling. Maybe I should have put this angle together to fit more of his strengths with like a fighting instead of being victim, but it really wasn't the vibe I was going for with this angle, although I should be better about that. Do I want to return without? No, I want to address this, and we're gonna say he is now a face. All right, cool. Yeah, let's turn face. And complete success. Yes, we built it up for 4 segments, and it was a successful turn. Getting attacked. Good way to turn a man face. Okay, Chill versus Spencer Spade. Now, we have an 82 rated match and a 67 rated match. I really hope that Spencer Spade can help put this match together and get a better rating than 67. If it's in the 80s, oh my gosh, that would be amazing. But I am looking towards that tag match and the main event to really get my match ratings. And I know these workers aren't going to both be good enough for a Steal the Show match aim, so I'm not going to change anything. Let's continue. Oh, wow. A 79. That is definitely better than I thought it would be. And it looks to be like this is all Spencer Spade. He did a good job here. I'm going to peek at the dirt sheet and just see what is it that might have helped. Okay, yeah, we even had, I didn't add spinal impacts. I wasn't expecting big things, but it appears that Spencer Spade is just that good of a worker that he got a good match out of Chill. That's awesome. The crowd was very hot, so we got a bonus for that. And we also gained heat on the tournament storyline. So overall, this ended up being a good segment. Next, we do have an angle. Let's continue on and see if we get a good rating out of this. 63. Man, my angles are not great. Spencer Spade did a good job, even though he didn't really have a whole lot that he was doing. And the high heat of the Canadian title tournament helped boost this segment. So, Joey Morgan has low morale. I think that happened with the media scrum answer. All right, we're just going to go ahead and move on to our next segment, that tag team match. All right, so wow. Thank goodness that Spencer Spade match was pretty good, because this was not impressive. We didn't even crack 70 with this tag team match, and I thought that these guys have had a good match before. So we started our storyline here. I did have the storyline was due to advance. Now when I look at the dirt sheet, everything seems to be pretty normal, kind of expected, but the segment rating was penalized due to lack of an associated storyline. I don't understand that. The story started, and I had two people in that storyline at ringside. Yep, nope, I didn't. I forgot to add the awesomeness, the tag team champions, to my tag team title storyline. Now I'm a little bit worried that we don't really have the ratings that we need, but we just got to move on. We're going to try to steal the show here with Rocky Golden and Brett Starr for the world title. 82. Oh boy. All right. I mean, that's not bad, but it's not as good as I thought. And I see all of this red here about them being tired. Hello. Did I not put a slow build? I have to check every note now when I go back. Hello, friends. This is future me, here to explain why past me was completely wrong. It all started when I got a very helpful comment on one of my videos from the fantastic GS Gaming. Steal the Show automatically adds All Out Match, which knocks off a slow build because they're opposites. And yeah, that does make sense. But when it comes to slow build and Steal the Show as a concept of a match aim, I can kind of see it both ways. So I had to go and get more answers, right? First, I went to Reddit. I made this comment here about booking note contradictions, and I did get 10 upvotes, but not too many comments. However, all the comments basically said that no one's experienced anything that says it's a contradiction or that one supersedes the other. So of course I had to go to the Grey Dog Software forum and ask the man himself, does anyone know which booking notes supersede which notes, if at all? If an all-out match and a slow build are added, are they both ignored? And in asking this question, I thought of a few more examples, so I threw them in there as well. Is there a hierarchy of notes? Like if you have stunt bumps and crazy bumps for the same worker? What if you add a focus for domination, but you also add the open match note? Are you gonna shine up that worker who's getting squashed, right? As I hoped, the creator himself, Adam Ryland, he answered, and he basically said, yeah, if there is a contradictory note, something like domination or open match, whichever gets added first takes the priority. Other notes basically get removed, right? Do we see where this is going yet? If you try to do the same type of bonus twice, like stunt bump or crazy bump, the more powerful is used and the lesser one is ignored. This first answer didn't specifically mention Steal the Show and slow build, so I couldn't resist. I had to ask specifically about Steal the Show and the slow build note. Does the game consider that a direct contradiction? Mr. Ryland says yes. And you can clearly see here when you select Steal the Show that the aim means that the all-out match note is automatically used. Now, these are match style notes, and obviously an all-out match means that it's more physically intensive and more risk to stamina and injury. Another lesson in terms of adding your match notes is you can certainly accidentally put yourself in a situation where you're not getting the proper warnings by selecting those match notes incorrectly. I'm gonna add slow build back in. Do I get that penalty now? I don't. So I gotta give it up to GS Gaming on YouTube, Jordy Stew. He makes some fantastic videos. I've checked out his videos before, and there's awesome guides and playthroughs. So check him out, subscribe, check him out on Twitch as well. Now, I don't know, your mileage may vary. Write in the comments, is the creator of the game wrong? Are we not getting penalties when we go ahead and put Steal the Show with a slow build? Anyway, let's return to the past and see how our show finished. All right, there's nothing I can do. I just got to move on. The last segment is an angle. I hope it boosts the angle ratings overall. That's important, and that could save the show. I have a lot of stars in this last angle, so I really hope we get the boost there. And that's all right. So we did good with this segment, and improvisation did well, and it looks like we got good ratings overall. All the storylines involved gained heat, and we got a solid 84 rating. Look, I really don't know where this show is going to go ratings wise, to be completely honest. I want to get more than a 78. I want to gain popularity in all of the regions where I'm showing SWF TV, right? That's the goal. That's what I'm concerned about. So let's finish the show and see if we did what we came here to do. All right, we hit the 81 finally. Finally, now that we don't have a cable broadcaster anymore, we got that 81 rating. We had bad chemistry for this match here. We just kind of hovered in this 81 range for our matches. And then how is Jack Bruce not getting a high 80s, low 90s rating? He really should be doing better than that. And I guess it's the morale thing, maybe who he's working with, but that's a disappointment. Rogue and Valiant, I know they were supported by Rocky Golden in the last segment they did together, but look, 77? Come on, we got to be better than that. So I don't know. This did what I hoped it would do, but it was still disappointing in all honesty. Again, I'm still hoping we only get better. So let's finish the show, and we have a few things to look at here. Now, the financial report. Last time I picked a venue that had a fixed cost. Now, I do believe that I picked an estimated cost to run this experiment of sorts. So let's take a look. Workers' show costs. Now, show costs are similar to the last one, how much we spent on producing the show, and the venue hire really didn't change. The overall cost, similar. The miscellaneous actually was lower. So, I mean, maybe I need to book a fixed cost again and see if that is consistent. But we made money, which we need to do because we spent a lot of it to get our show to stay on the air. But this popularity recap looks pretty good to me. We are gaining popularity not just in North America, where we had been, but also in the UK and in Japan, all them islands. So I'm really happy about that. That's one good thing about having my own broadcaster. I can choose essentially where I want my show to be shown, regardless of popularity. Now, I think eventually I'm going to be looking to get into Europe and maybe Oceania. But right now we're looking good. I know like we got more than a 78, but I need to start getting into like the 85s. I think if I'm going to make significant gains in my popularity in the United States. So yeah, I still want my shows to be better than what I'm seeing from this particular show. All right, that'll do it. Show's complete. And let's see, we got to put our next week's show together in preparation for our big event. All right, we had our Supreme TV show last night, and I think we did pretty well. Now, if we look at our viewers on our brand new broadcaster, we have almost 5 million viewers, right? And if I look at my last few shows, we have not even 3 million viewers. We have, again, almost 2.7, right? We've actually like almost doubled our viewership by having this broadcaster that we created. So that's great. And not only that, if I look at my main competition on Tuesday nights, TCW last night, they actually did quite well with almost 3 million viewers, but their typical is 3 or just about. So now we actually have more viewers than them just by having this broadcaster. We have some mail. Let's check that out. And now we are into March. So we finished second in the area battle this month. Let's check that out. This is just showing really like how much potential popularity we have just based on the popularity of our top workers. So we look to be going ahead of USPW. I think what I do need to make sure I do is re-sign Jack Bruce once his contract is up after this event. That will be important. Let's go into pre-booking. All right, so for Awesome Impact, I'm going to book a few matches here. First is going to be the tag team title match between Faith and Old Glory and the Awesomeness. That was set up at the previous show. And then I'm also going to add Rogan Valiant because that too was set up at the show. And even though I think I left it as like someone needs to get a pin in the tag match I'm going to pre-book for Supreme TV, I think it just makes more sense for the World Heavyweight title triple threat match to be pre-booked, advertised at this point. That being said, right now we have enough star power to avoid any penalties. We'll gain a boost actually. Let's go ahead and get Supreme TV pre-booked. I don't want any surprises, so Spencer Spade, spoilers, is supposed to lose his next match, and I just want to make sure he's okay with that. Booking, lose on TV to Stephen Parker, no complaints. That's great. The reason I did that is Spencer Spade's momentum is a lot hotter than Stephen Parker's, so again, I don't want there to be any surprises. Okay, so I have all the matches pre-booked that I want to pre-book, but at this point, we're going to gain a boost in attendance. And one more thing I want to check out. I want to check in with one worker, Jack Bruce, and his popularity is astronomical, right? But he's going to face Remo, who is climbing in popularity. I mean, his popularity has increased, and I do have big plans for him. Part of those big plans is him winning a big match against Jack Bruce. So I want to check in and just ask if he's okay losing a match at an event to Remo. I really hope he doesn't have a problem with it. Remo is a big time guy, but he might. He would be unhappy with that booking decision. That puts me in a tough spot. All right, let me try this. I'd like you to consider putting someone over in a match. Remo. All right, he's annoyed. Oh my goodness. I really want Jack Bruce to be okay with putting Remo over, so I'm gonna give him a bonus. 10% of his salary is almost $3,800. I think I am going to do that as his bonus, right? And hopefully 10% of your salary, buddy, will make you not annoyed. Okay, morale boost, but he's still annoyed. I'm gonna have to do something. I think I want to get a creative idea for him, maybe to assist with this annoyance. I have about a week to get him in the mindset that he can lose a match. One interesting piece of news is Remington Remus has, I think this is the second news article that says that he has been mentoring somebody in RIPW. So I do want to maybe take advantage of that. He's not currently part of the inner circle, and I think he would make a good locker room leader. I've added these veteran luchadors, which is great, but he definitely is somebody who is suited to the role. So I'm going to add him. He accepted the position. Oh, good. See Ollie Howells. I think that's one of his mentees. So is Brett Kyle. War Peace. Yeah, so this is all good. Like, that's how you take advantage of some good relationships in your companies. So let's go ahead and just continue on. All right, we have some mail on Friday. Woo! We got Sterling Whitlock officially on our roster. And so I did add Sterling Whitlock to the story that he is meant to be involved in, and he will be making his debut on Supreme TV. Okay, Jack Bruce has 30 days remaining on his contract. That actually means I can negotiate with him. I am just going to wait. If he accepts whatever contract he has, the next one is not going to be for in-ring work. So if he accepts this before we have our event, I don't have him available to wrestle at the event. Okay, let's go to the evening portion of the day and book our show. All right, no one is going to get the night off. For this show, I want to book a venue that does not have a cost that says estimated. I want to run my next show in mid-Atlantic. So let's select that. We're gonna have an estimated more than 10,000 fans. Again, 10,000, hiring cost of 40,000 versus 15,000, same hiring cost. We're gonna go to Isaac Road Arena. Let's select the venue. Oh, no pre-show incidents. Cool. Booking team meeting, we got 175. I want to get a character idea to help boost morale for Jack Bruce. Let's spend our creative energy. A safe bet that I can use for anyone, and that's good. I think I will use that for Jack Bruce. Now, I have 135. In preparation for the event that's coming up, I'm just going to try for 2 creative finishes. This one's likely to succeed. That's encouraging. And then another creative finish. A safe bet, Rocky Golden. I had a Rocky Golden one that I used already, so this is great that I have another Rocky Golden creative finish. Let's move on, and we have some locker room incidents. All right, James Prudence brighten the mood. Thank you, James. And that's it. All right, straightforward. Time to address the locker room. I think I'm just going to continue to meddle with Joe Sexy and Des Davids, trying to get that relationship to improve. All right, pre-show is complete. Let's go ahead and book our show. My plan for Jack Bruce is to have him put Remo over. He's not willing to do that because he's annoyed right now, and I've already given him a monetary bonus. It wasn't a lot, but I did get myself a character idea. So I'm going to use that on Jack Bruce. That's a safe bet. I'm going to deploy it, and it was a success. Now, I don't know if his mood changes right away. Right now, I'm going to hold off on asking him if he'll put Remo over until this show ends. Not only that, I'm going to wait till the day of the event to negotiate a new contract because I still need him to make a final in-ring appearance. I don't want him to accept a new contract that is for never having in-ring work, and then oops, he isn't going to be in the match that I have booked. Now, as for this show, one thing I have to admit is that I misunderstood my product and what I should really be booking. Now, with a 3-ring circus, it's actually more difficult to get a high rating than with a regular focus, where 70% of that match rating is going to be with the main event. So you can book just a great main event, and that's going to take up a good majority of your match rating, okay? With a 3-ring circus, those 3, quote, best matches are all on an equal playing field. So it's an average of the 3. And that means you really do need 3 good matches. You can't just rely on the main event, right? That also goes for the angle focus. I actually thought the angle focus was more difficult to achieve a higher rating. So really, I do think that it's my matches that have been dragging down my rating. So I need to seriously focus on having 3 good matches. Now, I am going to leave you on a bit of a cliffhanger. We are going to run our last episode of Supreme TV before the event in the next episode and get to that event as well. So I think that will do it for another long episode of Booking SWF. Please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you'll know when the next episode is released and every time it's on.